This is how to work for 12 plus hours per day without ever burning out. There are regular people just like you who are making as much as $1 million per year, $1 million per month, and even $1 million per hour. And the difference isn't that they work longer hours than you. The difference lies in two crucial things, which I'll get to later in the video. This is a 7-step framework that I use to go from working out of a rented bedroom with no more than $50 to doing over $100 million in sales and becoming a shark on Shark Tank. Step number 1, what to focus on. It is far more important to work on the right things than it is to work for long periods of time. So there's a story of Warren Buffett where he approaches his pilot who's been working with him for 10 years and he wants to discuss his career goals with him. So he sits him down and he says, what is it that you want to achieve over the next 10 years? And he has him write a list of the top 25 things that he wants to achieve in his career. And then he says, okay, now I want you to break it down into the 5 things off that list of 25 that are the most important to you beyond all other things. And he finally gets it down to 2 lists. One that has 5 and then one that has the original 25 on them. And he said, what are you gonna do with those other 20 items? And he said, I will prioritize this list of 5. And then whenever I have time and whenever I've completed these, I'll start to work through that other list intermittently. And Buffett looks at him really confused for a moment and he's like, no. That other list of 20 items is your list of things to avoid at absolutely all costs. Buffett knows that there is no world that exists where you're gonna be able to get to all of those things, and all the time and energy that you think that you're gonna spend bleeding out to those other 20 items and not prioritize on the 5 is actually gonna stop you from hitting the original 5 in the first place. And that's because every time that we pick a new course of action, we incur the opportunity cost of not focusing on the main thing. Step number 2, do what feels like play to you, but looks like work to others. You'll be surprised in how many people get offended by when you choose to work hard. And the key is, if you're gonna be doing anything for long extended periods of time, you're never gonna ever be able to sustain that if it's not something that you enjoy. And if you wanna become world class at anything, it has to be something that you're constantly happy and tinkering away with, where you have this just insatiable love for the game, because all great things in life come from compound interest. And the best way to get compound interest is to by default do things for long extended periods of time. And that is impossible to do if it's just constantly a grind for you, rather than you waking up in the morning and being like, hey, I can't wait to get to work on this project that I'm working on. And the best way to do this is to always be learning a new skill that is connected to the primary thing that it is that you're doing. This brings us to step number 3, which is to manage your energy and not your time. When I was 17, I moved to London and I got a job in a sales floor, and there was 1,000 people on this sales floor, and our quota was 2 sales per day. Most of that sales floor would struggle to do that in a 9-hour shift, and I would make those sales by lunchtime. I used to get myself into this completely dialed in peak state, and I called that a level 10, and I would break my day up into these blocks of what I would call an hour of power. An hour in the morning is very different to an hour in the afternoon. Because if you think about it, everything in the universe is a rhythm. The tides ebb and flow. There's the moon, there's the circadian rhythm. So it's only natural that you apply that same kind of rhythm of energy into your day. 1 hour of power is equivalent of 5 hours of just coasting. So it's about accumulating these short, intense sprints than it is for just grinding for hours on end, because it is not about the hours that you put in. It is all about the output that you get out. Step number 4, how to focus. So Steve Jobs used to sit down his lead designer, Johnny Ive, and he used to say, Johnny, what have you said no to? And Johnny would bring him this sacrificial list, and he'd be like, no. What have you really said no to? Because Steve understood that focus is not what you say yes to. It is all about what you say no to. And it's easy to say no to things that you don't necessarily want to do. It's very difficult to say no to things that are very illustrious and that you really, really want to do, or that you're really deeply passionate about, and that are also great great opportunities, but you're saying no to them to keep you focused on your priorities and what it was that you committed to in the first place. Then what you want to do is you want to create moats around yourself, and you want to create a situation where it is very, very difficult for things to come in and try to distract you from the main goal. And it might sound extreme, but extreme people get extreme results. If you assign an hour or 2 hours to work on something, the exercise and the discipline that you must build is that I will sit here in complete pain working my way through this, or nothing else will get done. Step number 5, how to keep going when everybody tells you to quit. Working for long, extended periods of time builds unstoppable momentum. And that momentum over a year, over half a decade, over multiple decades, it compounds. And that compounding effect goes out of control. And a great story about this is Jimmy Donaldson, AKA Mr. Beast. It took Jimmy 4 years to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And in his own words, it took 8 years before he saw any real success on YouTube. Any normal person would quit after taking 4 years to get 1,000 subs. And everybody would also like to see the same success that Jimmy does. However, if you took those people and you asked them, would you be willing to do 4 years and get 1,000 subs and then another 4 years on top of that before you see any real success on YouTube? No one would be. If you're not willing to put in that same level of work, then it is unreasonable to expect a different outcome. There are going to be peaks and troughs and peaks and troughs. And in all reality, there's going to be long troughs where you don't see any success. Because if you want success like successful people have, then you have to be willing to fail like successful people do. So whatever that journey that you're in right now, whatever that loss that you're kind of burdening with right now, whatever wall that you're trying to push through, just keep fucking pushing. Step number 6, circuit breakers. This is all about how do you recharge your energy for maximum productivity. It's an activity that you do throughout your day, throughout your week, and throughout your year. It just resets all the static energy in your body so you get a second wind to get after it. And a couple of these that are really good is workouts. Whether you work out in the morning, or you work out in the middle of the day, or you work out to end the day. It's all about using that as a tent pole, as a way where it's like you've completely fatigued your mental capacity and you go out there and you do a physical, strenuous workout. And then once you've done that, it has just broken that circuit and you feel renewed and you feel recharged. I also like to use holidays for this. It's great to actually sit down and plan when your holidays are instead of waiting for when you need a holiday. You need to look at those multiple touch points throughout that quarter, throughout that month, throughout that week, and throughout that day that you can gamify this process. For me, I like to get my heaviest work day done on a Friday. I like to get my heaviest weightlifting day on a Friday because I know that I have a day or two of rest before I get back and I go back into that next weekly cycle. Step number 7, have fucking fun. When I started out in business, I had watched a lot of business shows, I'd read a lot of business books, and I had this idea in my mind of what it meant to be a businessman. And I took myself far too serious. The way that I dressed, the way that I acted, and it's because I had this idea that I had really adopted from society of what it meant to be somebody that had a business. What really ended up having as a result of that is that I just didn't have much fun because I thought that if you had a business, you had to be really serious, and all of that stuff is complete horseshit. Because what is the point of doing any of this if you're not having fun in the first place? In fact, one of my company values right now is if it's not fun, then you're doing it wrong. And that's actually one of my biggest personal goals, is just to have more fun with everything that it is that I do. It is so important to make sure that you're conscious and that you're baking in these little Easter eggs throughout your year, throughout your week, and throughout your life where you are always having fun. Don't worry so much because things are far less risky than they look from the outset. And society is constructed in a way where it builds things up to be such a big deal when they they really, really aren't. And it's because people want you to go the conservative path. But these things that you build up in your mind are usually far less of an issue than what you think that they are. And just savor every single moment and make sure that you're maximizing the amount of fun that you can have it. Because the days are long, but the decades are short. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.